listening to the Beercraft Homebrewing Podcast. Tune in every Wednesday night at 6:30 Pacific for a dose of beer and brewing banter with your hosts, Ben Holm and Andrew Ziegler.
So hop aboard for a little wit and wisdom in the Pacific Northwest, because it's always beer 30 on the Beercraft.
Well, it is legal to make beer in your garage, in your bathtub, in your shed if you wanted to.
In your pool?
If you dig it.
All right, but if you distill it, where are we at now? Is this a problem?
It's a problem. So beer's been legal since 1978, but for 158 years.
Thanks to Jimmy Carter.
Yeah. Bless you. But for 158 years, distillation at home is no. Even though the framers of the Constitution, Washington, all those guys, they were all distillers.
Yep.
So what gives? So what let's pose the question: what gives about this ban on home distillation? Because right now there's been a little bit of a wrinkle, a change up.
Yeah, I heard about some news.
Yeah, so we're gonna get into that. We're gonna kind of bring you up to speed on what this court decision in Louisiana means for you and me here in Washington, as well as some points abroad who may be listening.
No. Is this a big beer news segment?
Oh, not that big. I have plans done. I can't be that sloppy, but I did bring a big beer for our beer. So we're gonna get right into I'm thirsty. So
you know what time it is.
It is beer 30. Yeah, man. I brought in
what'd you bring?
I brought in the Castigator.
The Castigator.
This is excuse me, not the Castigator.
Oh, not the Castigator. That's your beer. That's your beer out of your shop.
This is the Celebrator,
Celebrator
from Eyinger Brewing. This is like one of the classic Doppelbocks.
I say it Eyinger.
Yeah. Eyinger, that works too.
Did you say it Eyinger?
I said something else. Yeah.
Okay.
Potato. Who knows?
Yeah,
maybe
knows?
a listener out there will tell us if I fucked it up or not, or if
It's
Andrew
German,
fucked it.
right?
Yeah.
It's German.
Yeah.
Eyinger.
Yeah.
Eyinger.
So I brought it in because we did design a Doppelbock here on the show several months ago now, and I think on the show we were going to call it the Instigator.
The Instigator. I think we did.
Yeah, but I think I changed the name when I went to make it as a kit. I called it the Castigator.
Castigator.
And,
how come?
Well, I got thinking about, looking at the recipe and I'm getting ready to brew it, and I'm noticing it's a much paler version than most examples.
How do we mess that one up?
I don't know what we were drinking for beer 30, but
that was probably the last one in the series in the podcast.
I can't remember. It was like 6-part series on beer design.
One of the last ones. One of 3 or 4.
I thought that was going to take like 2 episodes, and I talked too much. How about that? But we should pop the tap on this guy. We should we should drink this beer. I got this beer in Seattle.
Celebrator Doppelbock.
Last Saturday, I went down. We just had an opportunity to fuck around downtown Seattle, and I found this cool little bottle shop. And let me see if I can find the damn name of it. So I wrote it down so I didn't have to memorize it, right? What caught me about this bottle shop and bar, it says proudly AB InBev free on the door. So this is Tiku Tavern in downtown. I think it's by 6. We stayed like at the Hyatt on like 6th and Denny, so it's just down a couple blocks from there.
Yeah. Did you go to a concert?
No, my wife was. She had a graduation for Evergreen Beauty School down at Benaroya Hall in Seattle.
That's a good occasion.
Yeah. So that got out at 3. And game night went to shit. So she's like, well, we got a free room at the Hyatt. You want to come down and party? We should do that. So I went down there
Right on.
We went, had dinner at like Ash and I don't remember the name of it.
Hate?
No, Ash and something or other.
That's San Francisco.
It was like fine dining stuff. It was okay. I had
Hate and Ash.
No, yeah, Hate Ashbury. That's San Francisco, man.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, fuck, that smells good.
What is this?
Jesus Christ, that's
wonderful smell.
God, yeah. It's
malty.
Like
malty
and like
caramely.
Like caramely pruny.
Caramelized prunes.
Yeah. In a good way, not in a shit way. So how about that?
and it tastes just like it smells. A little bit of a back bite to it, tiny bit.
A little bit, but it balances because it's like it's got a sweet front. It's like very full in your mouth, very rich. It's kind of like
it's a bigger beer.
God, it's kind of like eating like baklava, kind of like rich, like that richness level. You just want to eat it the whole pan.
Yeah, they had to make this to keep them sustained during their fasting.
Right, that was the tradition. These beers were bigger on purpose. So yeah, exactly.
Well, it is 6.7% alcohol, so
which is still. It's still up there, man. Like if four was the norm IPA for the year for many years.
6.9 is like a decent IPA.
Yeah. And these days they definitely go bigger.
Dark, malty, and rich.
And it is pretty gosh darn dark. That is like dark brown ale territory or brown stout, kind of like it's a dark beer.
There,
it's a dark beer.
It's got a kind of a red hue to it.
So ours is a paler version, and that's okay. There are paler versions. They are not as normative. So we're just leaning into that mistake a little harder.
Yeah, you made this, and where is it at now?
It's in production. How about that?
Okay,
like it's not quite ready for prime time there.
Okay.
But when it is done, I'll bring it back in. Yeah, we'll bring it in.
Comparison.
Yep.
Cool.
I do have on tap. I'll bring in next time. I'll bring in the legend that we brewed that we created on the show.
Yeah.
The first part of that series. So that has been done and it's in. I better bring some before I drink it all. It's pretty fucking good.
Nice.
But yeah.
Hey, what is that other beer with the monk on it? I think it's another Doppelbock. Golly. It has the monk, and the monk is serving like something on the label.
I know,
you know
that,
what I'm talking about?
Well, there's a monk on the label.
Really popular.
Lopez Island Brewing.
Well, it's from Europe.
It's a bigger one.
Yeah. Here, let me look it up.
Ask the Google. Ask the Google.
I'm gonna do it. So, what's been going on, man?
Oh man. Like I said, went down to Seattle on Saturday.
Right.
It's been
Polliner Salvatore.
Oh yeah, and that's a Doppelbock as well.
Similar, very similar.
Those beers that end in ATOR, that is the tradition of all Doppelbocks.
Doppelbock.
Yeah, it is. Because I think the Salvatore was like the first, right? The Salvation, it was,
Salvatore
brewed by monks, very appropriate. So and then Inger, I don't know how to say it.
Inger.
They made the Celebrator, and
it would be probably my last name Ziegler.
Zieglator.
Inger.
It could be Zieglator.
Inger. Yeah, Zieglator. Zieglator.
There,
Zieglator.
I was cruising for names ending in words ending in ATOR on thesaurus.com, not affiliated, would sponsor. That's fine. And it's a short list. How about that? So I didn't even think just to make up fucking my own words. I might as well have done that.
Cool. All right. Well, you know what? We did switch it up a little bit as we're in here on the opposite Wednesday.
Yeah. We're back in here like 2 weeks in a row, kind of like the old days. Yep. But yeah, we're still going to be on the 2 week schedule.
You remember I talked about the
why exactly
part?
Yeah.
I got the part.
What is the part, man?
I got the part. I'm playing Coach Van Buren in the Damn Yankees.
It's
a good, cool musical.
Yeah.
About the devil comes and tries to take the soul of this old guy who always wished he was a baseball player, changes him into the best player in the world, and he takes the Senators to the World Series. And then he realizes in the end that fame and fortune and all that was not worth losing his wife over. Huh. And he went back to his wife. He got out of the deal with the devil.
Good for him.
Yep.
Good for him.
Yeah. So I play the coach, and I have a song called Heart. So I got to get out there. You gotta have heart. It's pretty fun.
You get to belt it out on stage.
I gotta belt it out.
I am looking forward to coming to your show, man.
So yeah, we're gonna have rehearsals every other Wednesday, plus.
And then some.
And then some, And then come showtime, I don't know. I haven't put my schedule in for the shows.
You might want to do that. Yeah, you might want to anchor those down.
I'm hoping it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, it sounds about
Wednesdays.
Right. Yeah.
So we'll see.
Well, yeah.
That's pretty cool, though.
How long does the rehearsal calendar go through?
It starts July 20.
Is your opening July something?
Yeah, let me look at this. July.
It's important for you to know. I'm just asking questions.
I totally rely on my calendar, day by day.
Me
See,
too.
looks
when I remember
like-
to use it.
Looks like shows start July. I don't even have it on here.
So you
End
got,
of July.
2+ months.
Yeah, July something plus to
Right on, man.
August 8th, I think.
And have you done any acting before?
Never,
Did
never.
you take drama in school or
Nope,
anything? Nope.
didn't take drama.
They just snagged you out of the crowd and said,
They
like,
did.
you look good for the part.
Right.
You sound good. Can you sing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Kim was bragging about me.
Very cool.
So-
Very good. Good on
Yeah,
you.
and then you remember I told you I did Happy Birthday, and they're like, all right, come on. So, and then I went back and I sung one of the songs, and then they totally liked it. They
Very
loved
good.
it, and then told me on last Wednesday night.
That's exciting. They call you up and say, hey, or did you go out there for your
They called me,
Yeah.
but we were supposed to find out on Facebook on Friday.
Gotcha.
But the director called me on Wednesday. Told
Oh,
me.
very cool.
He's like, I didn't want to make you wait. He's like, I'll keep you excited. I was like, awesome, because it was like doomsday until Friday. It was
right.
I was like so nervous.
That's
And
cool, man.
Now I'm nervous because I've got to go out there and do this.
Yeah, no shit. That's
So
the easy part's getting the part. They
Right.
still have the work to do.
I've been to 3 rehearsals. We had like a whole cast walkthrough where we read the whole script,
Right.
All the characters.
That's cool.
And then I've been to 2 rehearsals where we did singing. So I'm gonna be doing 2 singing parts. I do the husbands at first, where the 2 main characters are singing their first song about the baseball and all that, and then there's got the husbands and wives kind of in the background, where because the wives are mad at the husbands because the
So
husbands are.
Is it kind of like a call and responsey kind of song? Yeah, that's cool.
The wives are mad at the husbands because the husbands are all they're doing is watching baseball, and the husbands are mad at the TV at the game, and they're like, God, you're out,
Oblivious
you're out,
to their wife's
you're out,
problem
you're
in the
safe, you're
background.
out, you're safe. Yeah.
Classic.
And they're like, yeah, we try to cook you food, and we're like, and yeah, it's cool. You're blind, ump. You're blind, ump. You better be out of you must be out of your mind, ump.
Yeah, that sounds
things
that sounds like a class, official fan language for sure.
Yeah, very musical stage show.
Who wrote that one?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Well,
I'd have to
next time.
Google it.
We'll Google
that. Yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. Congratulations. I've never
Thank
done
you.
that either. I've never done that, and this is about as public as I get.
Yeah.
Talking on a microphone.
Talking on the
I can do that,
and
I
in
do
front of
that
the
fine,
bingo
yeah.
hall.
I did that too.
Yeah.
It's interesting that I did have like a character for that job, like a persona that I'm gonna
When you're up there?
I'm gonna talk like this.
Right.
Welcome, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, kind of shit, and that's kept my sanity for 8 of my 14 years in that facility.
Cool. You could evidently I could buy the whole CD for $20.
Oh, yeah. There you
That's
go.
cool.
Buy the soundtrack.
Yeah, I went and what I did was I went and I just recorded the song and then I snipped out in actually the software here.
Yeah.
Snipped it down to my parts and I could put that onto my phone so when I'm singing, I can sing to it. I can sing just my part out of the song.
Okay,
And
cool,
that's the way I'm learning it right now.
Right.
And then pretty soon I just get
Can you because with our software here, you probably isolate that,
cut it down.
It's like
Oop.
take out the mainline vocal, insert yours into the backing track. Does it fit? Does it sound good? Is it that's very cool.
Yeah, I don't know if Studio One will take out the vocal.
Oh, it doesn't have a vocal vocal extract.
I have that. I have another app on the other computer. I think it's does that.
Yeah, I mean, there's the video editor on Canva, extract audio.
Yeah.
Bloop.
Yep.
Yeah.
Without
But that is the full line audio. I guess it doesn't just do the vocal. But I bet there's an AI shit for that now too.
Stage End.
Yeah.
All right, let's see who this is. Damn Yankees. Book was written by Douglas Wallop and George Abbott.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, hey, we got a show today. We're going to talk about
some
the illicit
things to talk
side.
about.
We're going to talk about a little bit of the
hard side of this whole deal.
harder side.
All right.
Of brewing. So stick around. We're going to be right back. We're going to go pay some bills. I'm going to drink some more of this beer while
We didn't even drink
while we do
hardly
that.
any during Beer 30. We've been BSing.
We're pretty good at that.
Yeah. That's good.
All right, we'll be right back.
Yeah, I got a loud mouth. That's why they pick me.
I'll wager you're right.
Beer News with Andrew, where I come and give you international stories, national stories, state, maybe even your local backyard. What up, hopheads? It's a sad day because we're doing last call for Schlitz today on Beer News with Andrew. So what happens when a giant goes quiet? Well, some brands don't just sit on the shelves, they sit in our memories. And this week, one of America's oldest beer names is stepping off the stage. After more than 175 years in production, Schlitz, the beer that made Milwaukee famous, is being discontinued. Today, we're digging into how that titan rose, stumbled, reinvented itself, and finally reached its last call. So Schlitz's story begins in 1849 when August Krug opened a small Milwaukee brewery and hired a young bookkeeper named Joseph Schlitz. After Krug's death, Schlitz married into the family, took over the business, and stamped his name on what would become one of the biggest brewing empires in America. By the 1930s, Schlitz wasn't just big, it was the largest brewery on earth, crowned the world's top-selling beer in 1934. Its slogan, when you're out of Schlitz, you're out of beer. Just that marketing, it was a cultural truth across the Midwest. The brand's national fame even surged after the Great Chicago Fire of 1871 when Schlitz shipped, I'll say that 3 times fast, when Schlitz shipped beer to the devastated city, cementing its reputation as a blue-collar lifeline. So the decline began in 1970 when Schlitz altered its recipe to cut costs. Oh, man, horrible. Loyal drinkers noticed, and they didn't forgive. Never forgive a beer for changing its recipe. The beer's reputation cratered almost overnight. Then came the infamous Drink Schlitz or I Will Kill You ad campaign in 1977, a bizarre, aggressive misfire that further damaged the brand. By 1982, the company was sold to Stroh Brewing, which itself collapsed under the weight of the acquisition. Pabst eventually acquired Schlitz in 1999. Then a nostalgic revival in 2008 brought back the 1960s style recipe, and for a while, Schlitz found a second life as a retro value beer, especially in the Midwest. But the comeback never really stuck. So in May of 2026, Pabst Brewing confirmed that Schlitz Premium is being discontinued, officially placed on hiatus, but with no timeline for return. Rising storage costs and shipping costs were cited as the final straw. Pabst head of brand strategy, Nadil, emphasized that Schlitz remains a cherished part of the company's history, but the economics simply no longer worked. Wisconsin Brewing Company is producing the final batches with the last brew day on May 23rd and a limited farewell release scheduled for June 27th. Milwaukee's bars and breweries are already planning goodbye events. This comes amid a broader shift. U.S. beer and flavored malt beverages sales fell 3.7% by 2025, and more than half of Americans now say alcohol is bad for their health. Rising prices are pushing many to cut back entirely. Schlitz wasn't just a beer. It was a symbol of Midwestern identity, post-prohibition optimism, and blue-collar America. Vintage Schlitz signs still hang in corners of taverns. Old-timers still tell their stories about the beer where their dads drank after long shifts. And for decades, Schlitz was the scrappy rival to Budweiser, a reminder that Milwaukee once ruled the brewing world. Its disappearance marks the end of a chapter in American beer history, one where mass-market lagers defined the culture long before craft beer reshaped the landscape. So what does it mean when a 175-year-old brewery finally goes quiet? It means the industry is changing faster than some brands can keep up. It means nostalgia isn't always enough to save a product, and it means that even giants can fade when the market shifts beneath their feet. But it also means we get one last chance to raise a glass to a beer that shaped American drinking culture. If you see a Schlitz on the shelf in the next few weeks, that might be just beer history waiting to be right in your hand. This has been Beer News with Andrew. Stay curious, stay creative, and as always, keep your glass half full.
Do it. Welcome back to the Beer Craft Home.
There we go. I forgot your cue.
Yeah, well, like speaking of cues, if you say "let's do it," that sounds like a cue. I'm just saying.
All right, there's your cue.
Welcome back to the Beer Craft Homebrewing Podcast. Today we're talking about distillation. We're talking about home distillation, as a matter of fact, because I have gotten several calls, several messages and emails and carrier pigeons, all about a very recent court case out of the Fifth Circuit Appellate Court in Louisiana. Big shakeup news, but but let's take it back a little bit before we get into all of that.
Yeah, before we talk about the law. Okay.
For 158 years, home distillation has been illegal.
Did it become illegal at some point 150 years ago?
Well, so yeah, like prior to, like in the birth of the nation, prior to the first, Continental Congress, the first government of the United States, distillation was just the norm.
There was no law.
Yeah,
and people
it was a brand new government.
Right.
And it didn't say anything about that.
The king wasn't coming over to collect his tax on your steel in your backyard.
And so that was one of the provisions, is a newly passed provision that said the government can levy taxes on spirits, basically, on distilled spirit.
Okay.
As a revenue generation to pay for the Revolutionary War, right? Like big fat fucking debts to gain our freedom is not free. Somebody's got to pay the piper. So they decided, hey, let's tax liquor. There's
a lot of liquor out there.
There's a lot of liquor.
Let's
Washington was a fucking was making some too. So. And that sort of came to a head in
Benjamin Franklin, I bet was.
There was even a little whiskey. There was a little rebellion of it. It was the Whiskey Rebellion, and this is like in Pennsylvania. Like the country's only been around for a hot fucking minute. In fact, Washington's still the president, right? It's the first, president, right? And he led a force. He led the army into the field, and it's the first and only time the president has actually been the commander-in-chief on the field.
Yeah. Yes.
And very little fighting about it. Shows up as a show.
He was
a
general. He was the general prior to being the president.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it kind of fit right in with that.
And he did his general thing and took a bunch of troops to Pennsylvania and put down a rebellion over whiskey taxes.
Conquer all the stills?
No, but showing up, there was minimal bloodshed. It was not a lot of shots fired kind of thing. Not a massacre or anything like that. Like say Everett massacre.
Hold on,
we'll talk about in a different show.
This is a rebellion by the people versus the government.
Versus the government.
Our very first dispute.
Right,
my goodness.
Right, and so the Constitution says yes, we can address government, air our grievances and make a more perfect union. And they just said, hey, we're going to tax the liquor you make, and Pennsylvania is like, fuck you is. We're gonna do our screw that. We're not. I didn't sign up for this. That's tyranny.
Washington comes marching in,
puts down rather easily puts down the rebellion, and solidifies the government's ability to levy taxes. Like congressional approval to levy taxes becomes one of the major articles of a new constitution.
Now these are guys that are making spirits for other people too, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's an economy. It's not even for personal use. It's a trade economy. It's a vibrant trade economy.
Vibrant trade that hasn't been taxed yet.
What do you do with all this extra grain? You've grown more than you can consume. What do you do with it? You can pack a lot of grain in a bottle. Hold on a minute.
Concentration. Hold on. You got the cart in front of the horse here. I'm making grain
Generally.
so I can make alcohol, and all the leftovers I'm making bread with.
Not wrong. Yeah. All the bit I didn't need to make bread with.
Revisionist history right there.
Yeah. Not wrong. So yeah, including Washington himself, and yeah, the government has been involved in the taxation of spirits, and that's not even weird. Like every other government on the planet in the history of alcohol as a mass-produced product has been deeply involved in the taxation of alcohol, from beer to wine to cider, mead, harder stuff with
look at it today.
with still, yeah.
I mean, I'm being
not
taxed.
gonna go away.
I'm in Washington State. I am taxed on the tax I pay on the alcohol. It's like taxing me on tax.
Yeah.
So this is when the laws started happening. Okay.
Yeah, and that would pretty much go largely uncontested. And I think so until about 2016. Now, mind you, in this timeline, this 150 years of illegal distillation, we would go through prohibition from 1916 to 1920 to 1933. I say 1916 because Washington State actually started prohibition in 1916, 4 years before the federal cutoff. So we had an even longer dry spell here in this state, which I didn't fucking know. Like, that was not something that they talked about in Washington State history class in junior high. I probably would have paid more attention.
Yeah,
maybe.
if you were drinking.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. So I thought that was, there's little interesting bits about, Washington history too. So we get to the legalization of beer. Interesting thing about prohibition, I don't know, bringing it back there, making wine wasn't illegal during prohibition.
Really?
Yeah. If you had a religious reason to make wine, you could get it.
Thank
you
the
could make
Pope
wine
for that.
So during
I mean, nobody was growing grapes.
there were 800,000 applications for religious exemptions to make sacramental wine during Prohibition. So nobody fucking did anything. So Jimmy Carter, 1978, would legalize homebrewing because his brother was a brewer. I'm not I'm not saying that's nepotism or anything. I'm like, hey, you're looking out for
influence.
Here's a homie, looking out for your bro,
Right.
man.
That's influence right there.
So beer, wine, cider, those things became legal for home use, for home consumption, and the world's been a better place since then. I mean, arguably, I'm biased, but that doesn't make me wrong.
Right. And when I can make this kind of beer myself and don't have to wait for it.
We are still nursing this Celebrador beer. It's really good. Get yourself some. It's got like two goats on the label. I'll put a picture in the show notes. It'll be fun.
Two goats holding a big
ass beer. It's the goat, right? The greatest of all time. Okay, so distillation. Let's see. Why is this different? And that all goes back to like the government saying, "Hey, we're going to tax this. We're going to tax this differently than beer, wine, and cider. We're going to tax it more because it's extra, and that's going to make things
extra
very,
powerful,
very different.
extra tax,
right? So that's kind of the thing. Ultimately, beer and whiskey are largely the same class of product. If you look at the kind of like the structure, in particular of Scotch and Irish whiskey are 100% barley based.
Yep.
They're going to do a mash just like we do in Beerland. They don't do the heavy boil. They don't do the hopping.
No hopping.
But the Scots call that ferment young beer because it essentially is.
Just make young beer.
They make young beer.
You have to,
and they distill it,
and you have to make it good.
Which is really just the concentration of all the alcohol. Right, we're separating alcohol from the water in a still.
Right.
Which is great. I love Scotch. But essentially, like, in order to get to whiskey, you went through beer to get there. In terms of process,
pretty much.
They're running parallel trails.
One more process to the whiskey or the hard alcohol.
Okay. So let's talk about the lawsuit. So recently, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, that's going to be like Texas, Louisiana, kind of those Gulf states. They held up an appeal of an earlier 2024 decision that the ban on home distillation was unconstitutional.
Right. That means the Constitution didn't hold the wording that said it's illegal.
Pretty much, that's a lot of the crux of a lot of those arguments.
Yeah.
And the arguments in this case were that the government says we can tax it, and nobody was disagreeing with that. Said we can tax it, but that they banned it in a home environment,
personal use,
or for personal use,
personal production.
But mostly they banned it in. You could not get a permit if you wanted to. If you wanted to get a license, a permit to be a licensed producer, you couldn't if it was in your home.
Right. If you wanted to distill, you would have to go get a permit. You'd have to go through this process. You would then be taxed on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you'd be legal and everything would be great.
And then you can sell it to your buddy.
But they said you can't do it at home. You could not get that permit if you were trying to do this at home. And they quoted like, oh, it's unsafe. It would wreck the revenue system.
Could blow
blah, blah,
up
blah.
in your house.
So the big argument was, well, if you're saying that it's taxable and we can get a permit to do this, it's unconstitutional to say we can't do this at home. That doesn't meet the qualifications of like there's a couple of clauses that was quoting in the fair, and
we need to come up with other words.
I tried to get my buddy in here. He's a lawyer, and to kind of go over some of these silly lawyer facts, but
yeah, I mean, we need to just start saying this is not in the laws of our nation. And it's against these laws or these laws prevent this.
Yeah.
Not that our Constitution does it. We need to fix our laws.
Yeah. So with the necessary and proper clause, it was anyways. It was a violation on a number of fronts.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing.
The clause of the Constitution, and that was 2024, and the federal government decided to appeal the decision, and since it was in the 5th District, it goes to the 5th District Court of Appeals, and that court has upheld the ruling. So what does that mean? The ruling that it's unconstitutional, that the ban against home distillation based on residential status or building
since
status.
2024, you've technically been in a gray area.
Here's where everybody's. A lot of people get confused on this thing, and I get a lot of calls on this, and I've watched a lot of videos, and I'm going to post links to all that stuff so you can hear from the experts. Because I'm not one of them. I'm just a nerd in a garage with a microphone.
You're just a messenger. A really long-winded messenger.
But what a lot of this gets confusing is if you're in the 5th District and you're party to the lawsuit, and if to be a party to the lawsuit, you have to be one of the plaintiffs. And the plaintiffs listed are there was 2 individuals, and then the American Home Distillers Association were party to this lawsuit. So they were the plaintiffs.
So I can be part of the distillers.
Absolutely. If you apply if you become a member of that organization, you would be party to that lawsuit.
It's
and
only
it would
$5,000 dues a year.
But it's not even that. But it also only applies in the 5th. It's only binding in the 5th District. So Texas and Louisiana and all these Gulf states. Yeah, the southeast. Outside of that, now there's gray area in because this has been challenged for home distillation, and it's really like the first victory level. It is kind of like cracking the wedging an opening into the doorway towards home distillation or legal home distillation, because it is federally illegal all over the state. Now there are a handful of states like Alaska, Missouri, Michigan, where some like distillation or owning a still is legal, and it's kind of like a murky area, and the states have said okay, it's still federally illegal. So to the degree that this appellate court division or a decision applies to those guys or to those states, is if it's not in the 5th District, well, that'll be up to the states. And if the states have already said it's not a problem, they're probably going to be okay. They can get a permit and they can pay taxes. And I think like the tax you're likely to pay, and this is based on kind of the current rates, it'd probably be like $2 a bottle. So if you're making a 5-gallon batch of water
In your home,
you're probably going to end up with like half a dozen bottles. So it'd be like,
Right.
you'd pay like $12 in taxes.
Who am I going to pay that to?
The federal government,
How
because
do
you would
they
get a
know
permit.
I got to get my permit.
You would get a permit.
And do they have regulatory inspection?
Well, because you're going to bring up an interesting point, because the amount of revenue collected or potentially collected from all of the home distillers who are, like, we would gladly pay that. The amount of revenue that they would collect is so much smaller than the cost it would take to collect it.
Yeah.
That, like, what are we fucking talking about here? So the big parts of the federal government's argument on the ban is it's unsafe and it destroys tax revenues. Well, brewing beer didn't destroy the tax revenues for beer, and neither did wine, and neither did cider. So there's not really evidence to support that. The fact that it's then they say it's unsafe, right? They get to be worried about stills blowing up and catching fires. And so the Distillers Association actually did a study of
how many times a still
fires
blows up
in New Zealand, where it's been legal for decades.
Yeah.
And what they found is the number of fires that could be attributed to a still blowing up was a statistically insignificant number. I mean, is that of the total number of fires,
figure it out.
this was a who gives a shit at this point, 00, blah, blah, blah.
And we can't even figure out how Sven down there,
Yeah.
left his electricity on, or something like that, that he blew it up.
So it's kind of a noodly space. The court case makes it, kind of a hot button issue right now. I think it's very interesting to pay attention to. But I tell people in Washington, what does this mean in Washington? It means nothing changed in Washington. We're not in the Fifth Circuit. Washington has its own prohibition against the concentration of liquors or distillation. And really, they're talking about the concentration of liquors, which means if you freeze, like Applejack, where you freeze it,
That's right.
and skim off the frozen water, that's the concentration of liquors, and is illegal.
Don't do it.
Now you've just admitted on air. Like, that was
7 years ago. At least.
There you go.
At
Pass
least.
the statute of prohibition.
Statute of prohibitions.
Limitations. How about that?
Definitely.
So I think it's really interesting. I think the overall ban on illicit moonshine or untaxed or unlicensed alcohol is a very interesting history.
I have done quite a bit of distillation in my home. I bought an air still from you, right? So no problem making distilled water all the time.
Yeah.
I distilled all the time.
It's when it's alcohol. And so to the degree that anybody's knocking at your door, it means there are no like federal regulators. It's not like Sean Connery and Kevin Costner are running up every creek bed and holler looking for a still. They have to use local law enforcement for that. And none of the locals are pounding down your door asking about your illegal still.
Well, there's going to be no local detective going, okay, I need to keep an eye on Andrew and find out how many bottles he's selling to his buddies in order to make all this money he's got to be making.
The locals are far too busy with opioids, methamphetamines, all of that stuff. Drunk driving enforcement, like
stuff.
full-time occupations for local law enforcement. There was a story in the Atlantic a number of years ago talking about like illicit moonshine trade, and it said that the sheriff was actually one of the biggest customer.
The sheriff was the customer.
Yeah, right. So I tell a joke like, the only guys who are
probably
getting
slamming
the guys who are getting popped.
He was probably up for election there slamming him.
The guys who are getting popped for this are they're the dumb ones who put an ad in the Little Nickel, will trade tire for shine, or or sets up in the community flea market with his mason jars full
apple
of
pie.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I got apple pie. I've got fake scotch.
So the sheriff, like, oh God, like I have to arrest you now. And Bob's like, why, man? What the fuck, God? Like, so Bob, I gotta arrest you because you're fucking stupid.
Because you're public.
Because you're dumb, but put me down on it for a case on your next batch. Kind of
right.
like,
And
right?
Keep it out of the eye of the public.
Right. So there's a lot of stories about like the enforcement agents
So
who
we got a lot of good old
listen to
clubs.
listen to this though. So a lot of these guys, would be tasked with chasing down and finding illegal stills. It's interesting that those same individuals, like in hunting season, could sneak up on a squirrel with a slingshot.
Yeah.
But could never find a still.
No, I can't
It's
find
weird.
no
They could
still.
never find a still. Like, there's not been like a lot of draw to enforce this lunacy either.
Just the good old boys.
Yeah. There's a few, and they make a good movie with Kevin Costner and Sean Connery. That's very interesting. And we get NASCAR from the illicit moonshine trade.
Oh, prohibition.
Right? Yeah, to like from they gotta outrun the cops.
We gotta drink
with a case in the back.
Stuff, man. We gotta drink.
So I'm doing some other research for another project for this show, and I ran into an author who's talking about like the Seattle bootlegging scene, and there's some very interesting stories in the Seattle scene. So there was
during Prohibition.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even Washington. So Washington started Prohibition 4 years earlier. I talked about. There was a gal who was like she was.
There were prudes back then.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, God, it's been a long time here.
There was a gal. She was tasked. She was an informant. She became a professional informant for law enforcement. To share information about the and send into the underbelly to root out illegal moonshine here in the state. She ended up falling in love with the biggest bootlegger on the block, and they got married.
Oh no!
Like, wow, what a fucking conflict of interest that is! I can't wait to hear that fucking
now
story.
she's a fake informer, informing
right,
the
like,
wrong
is she?
stuff.
Yeah, is she like a double agent? Right, like
a double. That sounds cool. What was her name? Do we know her name?
I can't remember.
Dang it.
But I'm working on another
cool
topic for the show.
Yeah. The underbelly of Seattle, and
like,
it's pre-prohibition.
There's a lot of cool stuff that Mrs. Nideroast did not go over in my Washington State history class. I'm sad to say about that. So, I mean, home distillation. What does that mean? What can we do? I don't know. Technically, if you have, technically in Washington, it's even illegal to have a mash that can be turned into.
Now, how do you determine that?
That's the part I was trying to look up. So, if a mash that can be turned into whiskey, that's the Kentucky Common beer.
Okay, if I
listen to this, a Kentucky Common is a lot of corn and barley. It looks a little like a bourbon wash. We haven't added hops in the mash yet, so the differentiator between beer and whiskey looks a little weird.
So when they show up on my door,
they use the word mash,
and I don't have hops on my counter, like in my recipe, they're gonna wonder.
And I start to wonder. So I wonder about some of this because I see a lot of bourbon recipes in the 8% range, and I wonder if if they've made this prohibition against like high strength mashes with corn and barley and rye. If I keep it at 8%, it looks like a beer recipe,
right?
Maybe that's the thing, and that's like the thinly veiled secret over why so many mash recipes are at 8% versus 15%, which the yeast can handle. Right, it's tolerant to 14-15%. So
14% is if you have the right amount of cells, right?
Well,
if
you have enough cells in the correct environment, it'll do that just fine. And that's the same thing with beer. Like, just because you have some yeast doesn't mean it doesn't mean it's enough, even though the package says it's tolerant to 12%. You still need the cell count, volume, all of those things as well. And this is the same for whiskey. I wonder about that 8%. Why are all these 8%? And I wonder
that's where the threshold was.
It might be. Because how would they know if I make a 15%, 100%, or I'm not making 15% beer, but a 10% beer, like a really
10%
big
beer, all barley,
that
mashed.
So 10% of 5 gallons is a half a gallon of alcohol, of pure alcohol.
Pure alcohol.
Right? And then if I'm cutting that down to 40%, that's going to make a couple bottles.
2 gallons, right?
Right. That's going to make a couple bottles.
2.5
so,
gallons.
Yeah. Cut down to 80 proof. Or, even 35%, 70 proof. A lot of Europe bottles at 70 proof. 35%.
Right.
And I drink them all over the world too, and I don't miss that 5%.
No, it's
good.
good.
So if you're making it at home, that might just EQ out an extra bottle over X amount of runs. How about that?
There you go. Now we're thinking efficiency.
So there you go.
Okay.
So I forgot to mention some of this, like for those who are members of the Home Distillers Association who would be party to this lawsuit, you would be still applying for some sort of tax. And there are some permits that have been issued since 2024 for this in those states.
In the
5th district.
And they have to be honest and send in their money.
Yeah, and I don't know what the regulatory picture looks like quite yet.
And then you still can't sell it, right?
Well, if you're licensed, then you can.
If you have a permit, then
like that's part of the whole ban against it. Like with the permit is also the ability to sell it.
All right.
Like making and selling is kind of like tied up into the permittable license.
So now I'm making 2.5 bottles for my 5 gallon, and I sell one of those.
Maybe it's 6, yeah.
I sell one of those bottles. That helps me with my tax and a little bit of my my cost for the product.
Yeah. It's a noodly bet. I'm not. I didn't get into this to like sell beer or illicit moonshine. I was just, goddamn, I'm really curious how this how this shit works.
Right.
Like, how do we go from cereal grain to sugar to alcohol? That's a weird transition, right? I've eaten a lot of cereal and a lot of corn flakes and a lot of shredded wheat without sugar, and it sucked. So how do we get to beer, which doesn't suck? That was kind of my rationale, as I'm eating my shredded wheat, my frosted shredded wheat, goddammit. So if you're out there and you're playing around with this stuff, just don't get caught, guys. Just don't do it. Don't try to sell this stuff.
No, don't advertise it.
Don't advertise it.
On the little nickel.
Yeah. Don't trade your tires for shine. That would be bad.
I mean, you can get out there and you can be like, okay, I've got this, and maybe you can have some buddies, pitch in.
Yeah.
Hey, got this shine I'm making. Got this apple pie. It's apple pie cider.
Like be choosy who you do share that information with.
Yeah.
And this is not a show to condone. Like, I'm not giving out instruction on how to do this stuff.
It's going to be legal soon. I believe it.
I think sooner than later.
I believe
I think this wedging open the door, is going to lead. Hell, we've legalized or decriminalized marijuana in how many states now? Over 13.
Oh, half the states.
Half the states are it's legal. Yeah,
something.
The federal government still says that's a no-go, but they're even looking at some of that stuff now too. So these kind of arguments. So here's my thinking about this argument. If it's unconstitutional in the 5th district, that means it can also be argued in court in all the other districts,
all across the nation.
So by being now that it has survived, it has been upheld in the Court of Appeals in the 5th district. That is a binding case. So they cannot. It is ruled unconstitutional. You cannot ban it for home use in the 5th district. All the other districts, it is a recommended. It's a recommendation statute. Like, okay, yes, it's upheld here, so it's recommended that that we shouldn't fuck with it. That doesn't mean we won't, or the states won't.
Right, our state.
So it has to be argued in those states, and then party to that. You have to be party to that case, and it would have to go through appeals process. We'll see what's going to happen, because in order for that ruling to get nationwide legitimacy, it's got to be taken to the Supreme Court.
Supreme Court, yeah.
Which means
that means it needs to be challenged and not
which
upheld.
means the feds would have to appeal this decision, and they don't have to. They could leave it at the 5th District and drag their feet on it.
Yeah.
But if they do take it to the Supreme Court, it'll be interesting to see what happens as a result of that. Because if it was upheld at the Supreme Court, then we have a different scenario, nationwide.
Right.
It would still be
judicial decision.
It would still be up to the states to, be compliant with that, because a lot of states do have, just carbon copy statutes about it. None of them are like, if the feds change our mind, we'll change our mind. So it'd be very, very interesting. It would have to be, go through each and every state one at a time.
Yeah, that would take a long time.
It does. So we mentioned Jimmy Carter legalizes it federally in 1978, but Alabama didn't get on board with home brewing until 2016.
Why?
Alabama, man,
because the state said no,
or it just never came up.
And it was never challenged.
We're like, why would we go kick up a fuss about that? Why would we spend money on that? Like, anyway, who knows? Who knows what there is? I don't know why Alabama was so slow.
Bible Belt?
I don't know. No? I think it was just like they didn't get around to it. Personally, that's what I think. I don't know. I would have to look that one up. But it is an interesting factoid that they were so late in the game.
Wow. And Washington's early on prohibition.
Oddly enough.
Keeping our eye on it.
Yeah. I think that is going to be a wrap for the show. I want to thank you all for joining us today as we're kind of unpacking some of this. If you want some more information on this case, I will put a link in the show notes. It is with Jesse of Still It, which is a YouTube channel in New Zealand. He's been talking about making a home. I like that guy.
It's
a great channel, very informative. Mm-hmm. He's been at it for a really long time now. There's thousands of hours of content on YouTube on distillation and the art of whiskey. You can check him out. He's got an interview with the head of the Home Distillers Association. Does a really long form that I've only caught clips of. It is listed on his site. I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. Really, really interesting spaces and places.
I think this is going good. I mean, I like the direction of the laws and changing the nation to have home brewing, home distilling, anything you want to do.
It is still we the people who decide these. Like
it is
how we're gonna decide these things. And yes, the federal government is the engineer of those decisions, and it takes us to challenge and
put through cases and
so if
system.
If you're at all interested, join the Home Distillers Association. That puts money in their war chest to fight this kind of fight on your behalf.
Yep.
Beer has the same kind of organization, the American Homebrewers Association. I'm sure there's one for wine. I've never looked into it, but I bet there is one.
Probably.
And maybe I'll have to do that.
American Winemakers Association.
Yeah, right. Probably something silly name like that. WMA or something like that.
WMA.
Different than the WNBA. So,
WNBA. Yeah. No, WMA is Pearl Jam song.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Go look it up.
MDA.
Anyways. Go look it up. It is a Pearl Jam song about got good current events about different issues we talk about these days, but was back in the early 90s.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, we'll put all that stuff in the show notes if you're curious, want more information.
Except for the Pearl Jam song.
Except for the Pearl Jam. Maybe we'll put that one there too.
Okay.
Fuck it, I gotta write that down. All right, thanks for all joining us.
All right,
that's gonna be a wrap. We're gonna see you in a couple of weeks.
Hey, thanks for
show.
Thanks for the good information. Big amount of info here.
Cheers.
Thank you, Ben.
Cheers, man.